Hey Scrappy Peeps, Susanna here today for the final day of the Summer Scrapping series with Audrey. I am joining her, and this is the layout that I created for this series that she's working on. I will tell you that this is actually the second layout I created. The first one didn't record. So after much tantrum, back to the drawing board. So I have primed this piece of white paper with clear gesso. I did finally find some clear gesso, and actually, to be honest, I had it in my stash all along. And I didn't record that because it's literally just wiping it on with my palette knife and then letting it dry. And this is some shimmers that I've activated with water. And I'm now just using the packaging technique to apply onto the paper for a background. This is really a kind of a monochromatic layout in that I'm just going to go with these aqua teal-y colors. There is a little splash of yellow just for a little pop of color, but the idea was to make it more monochromatic. These pictures are of my children and then my family, or yes, children and husband. They make my family at a beach in Toronto, one of the Toronto islands. It was called Wade Beach 2 weeks ago. So I'm just going to set that aside to dry while I put together these die cuts. So these die cuts actually came for a card. They were a trifold, and so the 3 different size waves. So I cut them in 3 different colors and then cut them apart on the dotted lines for the folds, and then I am reconstructing them and gluing them together so that I have all 3 different colors of the cardstock, and I am layering those up so that I can put 2 of the 4x3 pictures and then have another space for a title / journaling or just something else. I did have a 3rd picture that I could put in, but then the layout became very full, and I really liked the break that your eye is given by just having the 2 photos, and that's something else there. So those are the 2 photos, and I'm going to adhere them to that cardstock that is holding everything together. And then I want to stagger those on the piece of pattern, the piece of cardstock. So I got very impatient and it didn't dry, and I wiped some of it off with paper towel. And that made me very sad because I feel like I lost a lot of the color that I had worked so hard to put on there. And I tried putting it back. And honestly, the best thing that I should have done was probably just have gotten the packaging technique out and reapplied it. But I actually end up liking the way that it looks with that subtle hint of color behind the waves. Although I do wonder what it would have looked like had I not just used my paper towel to remove it all. So I am impatient because this is now the 2nd layout that I'm working on, and I have removed the color that I wanted. So I'm just going to keep working, and I'm going to make the best of this. So I have some modeling paste, and I added some Heidi Shine to that to add just a hint of color again for that same teal color. And I have a stencil that I'm going to apply that modeling paste through so that you can see some more waves and some more color and add a little bit of texture to this layout. So I literally am just wiping it through. I have a little extra left over, which I could have used and put onto the layout, but I like those 3 spots there. I am all about trios. At the bottom of my screen there, you will see that I have some variegated cardstock. That is from Fancy Pants and comes from the National Scrapbook Day kit. And I've just ripped that along the edge so that it can create a footer for the bottom of my page. Also, I have there the chipboard pieces from crepe paper, and I want to use those to add a little more teal to the page. I'm also going to use just a hint of yellow to add just a pop of color to these photos because the photos are kind of dark. So there's the umbrella that I really wanted, which is what prompted me to get this out in the first place. And then I saw that little piece there that says August, and it was the month of August that we were gone. So I wanted to find something to sort of make that so that it looks like less of a shelf and kind of give it more of a home, something sort of solid to house that chipboard piece on. And I had this tag that I thought would look fun. And what I liked about the tag was that it had that brown, the circle, the hole reinforcer, and that worked perfectly with the photo. But then I also saw this piece of pattern paper that is from Cartabella with the palm trees, and I thought that the palm trees complemented the trees in the back of the photo nicely, so I decided that I would cut that to be 4 inches wide, just as the photos are 4 inches wide, and then use that behind the chipboard piece. And I thought the tag would look great as well. Just going to have that peeking out underneath the bottom of that piece there for another layer. And I like the way that with the waves staggered, it creates some movement across the page, along with the modeling paste and the mixed media and all of those fun goodies behind. So I'm going to just adhere that all down and commit to those pieces being where they are. And unfortunately, the way that I shifted things down, the waves aren't centered directly in the center of the page, but it's okay because really I'm the only one who notices that. Something that I do off camera is I like the movement of the waves, but I was worried about them going in and out of a page protector. So I did just glue down the very tips where all of the wave comes together with my fine tip applicator. So I want a few more layers down the bottom of the page as well, and I like the effect that that ripped edge of the paper creates, and it creates some shadow as well. So unfortunately, I'm working a little bit off camera here. I have been on vacation, and I think that my setup isn't quite the same as it was before I left, and I have to get readjusted to what space I have that I am able to film on. So I apologize for that, but essentially what I've done is I've added another piece of Cartabella that's on the right hand side. That piece on the left hand side is from Illustrated Faith, and so those two pieces just kind of poke out from either side. That was a sticker from Simple Stories, and it just says beach please, and it's above the chipboard piece that says sunshine from Crate Paper. So I had these washi stickers, again from Illustrated Faith, and I thought that that little bit of black there just added a little splash of darkness and a little bit of contrast, and I liked the way that it tied that darkness of the water down the bottom to that darkness, which is actually the trees behind the beach scene, and it just tied everything together, so you have those uniting factors across the layout. So this layout is pretty much done. It just needs a title. So I'm just using these white thickers to put the title Wade Beach. Wade Beach is the beach that we happen to be on. We were in Toronto, and my kids wanted a city vacation, but across the I'm going to call it the bay of Lake Ontario, there are these 3 islands, Wade Island, and I forget the name of the other 2. So we took a ferry out there and were able to enjoy a little bit of sand and sun, even though the kids didn't want a beach vacation. But it was nice to get our toes in the sand and check out another one of the Great Lakes, having spent a lot of time on Lake Michigan growing up in Chicago. So to finish off this layout, the final finishing touch, I'm going to add one of the new sequence packs from Spiegel Mom Scraps, just 3 little trios to add just a pop more color to the layout. And again, as I do, I will use my fine tip applicator with Scotch Quick Dry adhesive to stick those down. So again, this is wrapping up Audrey's Summer Scrappin' series. Thank you, Audrey, for having me. I hope you go and check out her project as well. well, and there are 3 weeks of this, so be sure to check out the projects that all the other ladies have put together. There's some great summer ideas and ideas of how to put some great summer projects together. I think I've seen a fair number of Audrey's are water-based, so this adds another water-based idea to the collection. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the box down below. I am journaling on this particular layout, and you can see how that journaling fills that gap, that white space there, and that was done intentionally with the intent that I would journal there. So if you don't subscribe, I would love to have you join me. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're doing well. Take care.